We're still working, Global Gang, on resetting the stream, so just bear with us. Cool. Questions? Yeah.
First YouTube link. How will I go back and watch my scene? Is it?
Katie will post those YouTube links, right? Do you post them or just Travis?
It'll be that first link that's sent out.
Yours will be the first link, and then there'll be a second link because it'll.
I need to repost. Back with the link.
Oh, whoops.
I think the link.
This actually recording onto YouTube. That first link will take you to that first YouTube, and then that second link will take them to
So I'll repost it.
Is that true, Trevor?
These are unique links.
That first link would still take them to that first scene, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're uniquely generated, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll repost trailers and then
Thanks, Kate.
do it.
All right, did you get the new link?
Okay, maybe not middle school. Make it a high school slow dance.
Oh, no.
What high school you go to?
All right, Catholic high school dance.
Perfect.
45 chaperones.
I went to Catholic high school and then shared Pimentel, so I'm through the middle. Make room for the Holy Spirit.
This is why Christian hugs look like this.
Or the size.
I'm Cuban. It's like, you can give me a hug. Give me a hug. Any questions, guys, while we wait here? Yes, sir.
So, what is your process in making interesting, meaningful choices in the context or of camera where it's a bit smaller and a bit, you have to hit your mark, you have to be in frame, you have to, so you're aware of all those things, but then where do you find the freedom to make your choices and what's your process and how can I make something interesting happen in this small little frame?
It's a good question, man. I don't know if I've thought, it's a good question. I don't know that I've thought about it consciously, so I'll do my best. I don't know. I think for me, okay, so I think it's a good question, and I think there are some technical considerations, right? So especially in comedy. If Sharon doesn't put in the hard work to find, I call it finding the funny. If you don't find the funny, you're going to miss stuff. And it's all about those choreographed moments of finding it because it's there. It's underneath. You have to kind of make that happen. Lucille Ball, in other words, there's obviously incredible amounts of talent and intuition, but a lot of those things, especially if it's physical, has to be mapped out. It is choreographed, okay, in many, many ways. And then you have to make it real. We're talking about a dramatic scene, or are you making any kind of distinction? You don't have to be, but are you making any kind of distinction, or are you thinking
I'm more just saying like on camera. Just when you're on camera and you want to make some real interesting choices. Because I remember you told us one day, like, come in and give the director like 7 different variations of the scene. So what does that look like for you when you're going in and you're like, okay, I have all these different ways I'm going to do this scene. And I'm like, I have to do it in this like small, I have to still hit my mark, I have to do this, but I'm going to hit my mark this way this time. Or like, how do you?
It won't be about hitting your mark. Hitting your mark is going to be a really basic technical consideration, typically dictated to you, and there is no real choice there. It's just like you're on this lens, you're framed this way, that's all mapped out for you, so you just have to do that thing. But I understand, I think if we're talking about the actual scene work and the character work, I think for me it's always got to start with getting to know the character and the circumstances and the scene really, really, really well. So yesterday we were shooting the Scene Collaborative Project, which is a collaborative thing that we do where the screenwriters have written original scenes for the seniors. You guys will get to do this in your senior year as well. It's really, really cool. So the screenwriters we actually shot the Fabian and Caleb scene, which was like a prison thing that Catherine and I think, who was she? Yeah, Mary. And so we got to, okay, now here's what was interesting for theatrical actors, and I'm sure Kenny, you picked up on this as well. Their work got richer and more detailed and more nuanced the further we got in. I mean, we must have run that thing how many times?
Oh gosh. How many shots did you have? Approximately? 75?
Yeah.
75 times.
75 takes of that.
Yeah, and that, by the way, that's nothing.
And that's because we're changing angles, and we're also giving our director lots of choices for the edit. And we built a lot of time to do that. You won't always get that. But yeah, we had the time and we shot 75 takes almost all the way through every time.
And that's a scene with 2 people. Now try shooting a conference room scene with 10 actors. Or let's say 10 budget commercials where you're locked in a room with 6 actors, and now it's just mathematical. We have to get a close-up on every single one of those actors. Every time we shoot a close-up, it means we've got to do several takes of just that particular actor. Then you got to nail your jokes, you got to land your thing, you got to find the moments. Was it in focus? Was it not in focus? Did the dolly, the focus puller miss something? Did the dolly miss their mark? So it's not just like you might have given your best performance out of focus and it wasn't your fault, so you got to go again. And then in the case of this particular scene, there was some emotionality to it. And so Caleb's got to pace himself. He's playing a prisoner who's getting strong-armed and leveraged and so on and so forth. And so he's got to keep that thing alive and fresh. And it's got to be in the master. It's got to be on his close-up. It's got to be when we shoot it from this angle and that angle. I mean, we must have had, 15 different shots or more.
And several takes of each.
And several takes of each, right?
So, like, if you're smoking, go in here.
Nice, yeah, so you might vomit tuna sandwich on your lead.
We're ready when
We're
you're
ready. Good. And so all I would say is, for me, it always starts with, so when you say, how do I make an interesting choice? I'm glad that you're asking the question, but I want you to be aware of something. You just asked it from the outside of the character. So I don't think so much about how do I make interesting choices. I want to get to know so intimately that scene that I just discover new things. I discover that, oh gosh, yeah, there's just, you guys know this, but like just in human interaction, it's just a slight change of the intonation of how you said something actually means something radically different.
Yeah.
But you only discover that on the 35th take.
Yeah.
The best moments are when you discover it off camera and you're like, dang, I just gave my best performance off camera. That's what it's like. But anyways, start with the scene and start with the character. It's about discovery, not necessarily manufacturing something from the outside in.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Get to know stuff. All right, here we go.
Okay, sound.
Speeding.
Camera A.
I'm at A speeding.
Camera B.
Camera B speeding.
Camera C.
Camera C speeding.
Scene 8, take 2, mark.
Take your time, listen, and enjoy.
Action.
Can it be mended?
I think so. We'll test it at first light.
You work long hours?
When you're 5,000 feet up in the air, you'll be glad of it.
Where'd you learn how to do this?
You mean fixing engines instead of shorthand and typing? Letters and numbers never made as much sense to me as metal and wire. Things I could touch.
Did your father teach you?
He was a mechanic during the Great War. When I was a kid, I would sneak down to his workshop.
Good. Don't cut. Let's go again. Start from the top. We'll talk to you real quick and reset. So just enjoy that. Because you're catching them on a little bit of
Enjoy
showbiz.
saying
Yeah,
that.
enjoy that.
Okay.
Enjoy that. She's got a little bit of sass to her, okay? Let us see that. All right, here we go. Let's go again. Right away. Commit, be confident. Be settled and confident. All right? Let me see a little bit of that charm and a little bit of that beautiful smile of yours. Okay? All right, baby.
Can it be mended?
I think so. We'll test it at first light.
You work long hours?
When you're 5,000 feet up in the air, you'll be glad of it.
Where do you learn how to do this?
You mean fixing engines instead of shorthand and typing? Letters and numbers never made as much sense to me as metal and wire. Things I could touch.
Did your father teach you?
He was a mechanic during the Great War. When I was a kid, I would sneak down to his workshop. Have you ever flown a fighter before?
I can fly boat planes. It's not that much different, is it? Do you mind if I...
Sure.
What does this button do?
That fires the machine gun under your right wings, and this one your left. And this fires the machine gun through your prop.
Go ahead and hold right there. Go back a few lines and just tell me what you do. When he looks at the dash, you take the window. Go back just a few lines. By the way, that's sound effects. It's the machine shop we're building. All right, standing by. Standing by. Actors. Take those times. Take those times. Let's see it. All right, standing by. You guys know where you want to take it from? Okay. And call it again there.
What does this button do?
That fires the machine gun under your right wings, and this one your left. And this fires the machine gun through your prop.
Take that line again, Aaron. Don't look away while she's talking. It's your excuse to take her in. She's cute. Take it again.
What does this button do?
That fires the machine gun under your right wings, and this one your left. And this fires the machine gun through your prop.
Primer, throttle, gear stick.
And this red button is the boost button for emergencies. When you press it, you'll get 5 seconds of full throttle. It may help you catch a bandit, but don't use it too often. Wears out the engine.
Banjo from Red 1, do you copy? I repeat, Banjo from Red 1, do you copy?
Red 1 from Banjo. I copy.
A few of us are going to the hotel after training tomorrow for some drinks. Would you like to come?
What about the bet?
What?
Please
What do you mean?
again. Enjoy that line because you've got, you know something he doesn't know. You know.
Yeah.
Take it right back. Give her that,
Okay.
that last banjo bit. Right from there. Enjoy it, guys. Enjoy it.
Banjo from Red 1, I repeat, do you copy?
Oh, sorry. I thought we were going from the first one. My
All
bad.
right, take it again. Give it to her. Have even more fun. Everybody. Hand it up. Hand it up. Give me a little special effect voice. Here we go.
Banjo from Red 1, do you copy? I repeat, Banjo from Red 1, do you copy?
Red 1 from Banjo. I copy.
A few of us are going to the hotel after training tomorrow for some drinks. Would you like to come?
What about the bet?
What do you mean?
I heard this rumor that the first pilot to shoot down an enemy plane gets to ask me out.
I didn't realize. I mean, we're only having a bit of fun. I hope you don't feel.
Why do you think I showed you the boost button? Good night, Lieutenant.
Oh, snap. All right, come on over, let's talk. Let's flip to the next scene, please. Come on over, actors and director. Let's give it up for Mary. Let's give it up for our actors. Susie might still be watching it delayed.
Okay.
Give it up for her in just a second. All right. Observations. Thoughts and observations. Guys, come on in here, enjoy this. All right, let's give it up for Susie. All right, we got lots of tools, Come on over. Good job. Thoughts and observations for our actors.
Great, I love how strong but feminine you play your character, and even when you're not in
If you need a rest, just like hold it flat.
yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.
Good job. Yeah.
When you two enjoy it,
She's walking in, I'm standing up to greet her, and then it's sitting.
I was adjusting this for sitting on. Right? You want it just for sitting?
I'll ask her. So if we're talking like this, just from my standpoint, you can tell me what it looks like from out there, but it feels more natural to just turn and look as opposed to turning all the way around. Okay.
How do I express it?
Yeah.
One was from here, but yeah.
Whatever the frame is.
So, yeah, it was,
Let's give him some feedback though. What happens when he lets it out?
See, I was just gonna say, I could see your role throughout it. I could see walking into the piece of.
You wanna come more around,
that
yeah.
you're going to meet that
So,
night.
Is that enough room to just, when you're trying to center from
Watching. I was
that would be a full on line though.
Yeah.
This would be.
a little more close up.
So I think this one.
Then
I think just that you can have last week.
Yeah, and I'm still.
Here, let's move and then have them just move this way.
there was another bit where like,
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Can we have them?
And I don't know how that felt for you, but the more you gave us, the more you sold the whole. It's charming. It's fun. Yeah, I want Erin to know that he's charming.
You gave us a little eyebrow raise as you walked away, like tired face. And the writing lent itself to such like chemistry. It's such a shorter scene that it just like on a personal note, seeing you guys from start to now, it's just really a beautiful thing to see you come alive. And I think for
Do
your
we
dialogue,
need to let her know that I'll be changing focus? Is
it
that?
made it very easy for them to do that. And so the whole thing was just like, oh my god, you excited. You know, so
Susie, how about you, girl? How was it watching that? Were you able to watch it?
yeah, I think it was amazing. Brie and Aaron just did such a good job with it. I loved if
Can you move to slightly back?
studied this, so real and spatial. And what I really discovered new to myself in that scene was you both brought like real vulnerability to it.
What if I'm sitting like this and then do kind of
You
like
make the characters so
leaning forward, so it's a little
confident
more
and they know their lines, they're
casual, 'cause
also
she's
in
like,
their head. But when they're revealed to people,
it's like she's journaling or recording. Well, it's kind of like the vlog video vlog.
and this is a huge deal for
Look to the center camera,
Oh, okay. Okay.
just because that one's gonna be over the shoulder, and I don't think it's gonna be enough of an adjustment. People are gonna
you
get
use that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Let's try it.
Okay.
So thank you for your hard work. Thank you so much.
Pressure from where?
Higher ups. State Department.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I guess that'll take in like you freezing too.
I'm gonna fix the tables slightly off. Is that good, guys? Does that feel comfortable too? Okay.
Don't want it to get close.
Good stuff. Let's give one final look.
I do walk in. Do you have?
What if you walk in from back there, maybe like kind of Here, do you want to practice it real quick? If you walk in. Colonel Wood. Thanks for meeting with me.
Absolutely.
How are you doing today?
Fine. We're just ready to get the story told.
I'm sure you are. Well, let's dive right in then. You mentioned that you arrived in February 2011 to train the elite security force. How would you describe the situation on the ground?
Chaotic. Constant battles with militia. A lot of criminal activity.
You met with Ambassador Stevens daily. Was he concerned about security?
He was constantly concerned about threats, not just to himself, but to the entire staff.
Was there a security drawdown during the period of time you were in Libya?
Yes, it happened shortly after I arrived. There was pressure to reduce the number of security.
Pressure from where?
Okay, sounds good. All right, so you're the director?
During the 6 months leading up to the attack on Ambassador Stevens, Woods says the security situation had deteriorated.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's just keep going. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it, team.
Okay. Sam?
All right, quiet.
Camera A? Camera B? Camera C?
Speeding. Camera C speeding.
Okay. C9, take 1. Mark.
Colonel Woods,
Hi there.
thanks for joining me.
Absolutely.
How are you doing today?
Fine. Just ready to get this story told.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. Let's dive right in then. You mentioned you arrived in Libya in February 2011 to train an elite security force. How would you describe the situation on the ground?
Chaotic. Constant battles with militia. And a lot of criminal activity.
You met with Ambassador Stevens daily. Was he concerned about security?
He was constantly concerned about threats. And not just to himself, to the entire staff.
Was there a security drawdown during the period of time you were in Libya?
Yes, it happened shortly after I arrived. There was pressure to reduce the number of security people.
Pressure from where?
Higher ups. State Department.
During the 6 months leading up to the attack on Ambassador Stevens, Woods says the security situation in Libya deteriorated. There were 13 threats and attacks in Tripoli and Benghazi. Woods says Stevens and his staff made the case for tightened security in emails and diplomatic cables, but eventually they lost 3 State Department security teams, their only airplane, and Woods' squad too. Did Woods fight losing another team?
Yes, absolutely.
Was there a disconnect with what was going on in Libya and with the State Department?
There certainly was no disconnect in our communications to them. They had information about what was happening on the ground. We sent it up through the State Department cables. I sent it up through the DoD side. They knew what was happening in Libya.
How did you get the word that your team had to leave?
We knew it was coming through the information that was being sent. We knew requests were being sent to say, don't even request for DoD support.
So, State Department was telling the folks in Libya, don't even ask for help.
Correct.
Woods says in her opinion, some of the security team would have been in Benghazi on September 11th to help the State Department bodyguards if they had been allowed to remain in Libya. Do you ever wonder that if their security requests had been granted, their deaths could have been prevented?
Yes, I think about that. I spend a lot of time thinking about that.
Good job. All right, sounds good. Cool. Let's start with the actors. So obviously we've talked about some of the uniquenesses of this particular scene
Yes.
in that, this is like a pre-recorded interview package, right? And then you've got your direct addresses to the thing. I would actually try to bridge the gap between those two things a little bit. And instead of playing them as separate, I'd like to see if you can make it feel a little bit more like one. I know it's going to be a little bit odd, but I think if we normalize some of that stuff a little bit, it won't feel as like chunky. Okay? So in those transitions to direct address, don't feel like you kind of have to, that you're stopping and shifting to another thing. So just give me an example from the transition of the interview thing to the direct address. Let me just see that first transition.
How you want it? Or
Yeah.
how we do it? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, to the best of your ability, I'm pitching you a new approach. Just try it.
Pressure from where?
Higher ups. State Department.
During the 6 months leading up to the attack on Ambassador Stevens, Woods says the security
Yeah,
situation.
and I'd be curious to see what would happen if you actually play it to that camera real quick. Okay? So it doesn't feel as separate, let's say.
Okay. Pressure from where?
Higher ups. State Department.
During the 6 months leading up to the attack on Ambassador Stevens.
Good, and then
Woods
here's what I'd be
says-
curious about. If you actually zoomed in and cleaned her out, so lean back a little bit for me on that, okay? Make it like a thing. So, stream team, be off her coverage, if you can, so that we can pop to this new Zoom version of a direct address. Okay, and just make it less of a gap. Just kind of normalize it and do your direct address, and then continue the interview, and let's just see how it feels. We're just trying something, okay? Okay?
So wait till I'm looking.
You're going to finish
still
the
do
question, and then look right at this lens, and then hopefully we'll be ready to kind of just take you, make it less of a transition, and so on and so forth. Out.
Should I lose my shoulder or should I keep my shoulder?
Say again, buddy?
Should I lose my shoulder on her?
Oh, it'll just be for that. We'll call hopefully her direct address
No, yeah.
and all that kind of
Thanks very
stuff.
much.
Okay. The other thing that I want to kind of play with a little bit more with you guys is take your time a little bit. You don't really know what you're going to answer, especially you. She's a journalist, but you're not. You've never talked about this before. So take a little bit more time in finding those thoughts and figuring out what it is that you're going to say. It's less prepared, is what I would say. Okay? So take your time. And then I want you to consider which moments are most personal to you, which ones are most difficult to you. I think I'd like to see you more affected. I know you're military and all that kind of stuff, but which moments are hard? These are your people. These are your men. These are real people who have died. These are real soldiers. So I'd love to see what happens if you're more affected and it's more difficult for you to talk. And then I think that will give you, when you are going to press into something that's a little, maybe allow this to be a little bit more personal to you. Less Walter Cronkite and maybe a little bit more of our new journalism where people actually, their opinions cut through a little bit more. When are you a little bit more offended or pissed? When are you going after something dangerous and you know that it's dangerous? And what is dangerous for you to talk about? Is she surprising you on any of these questions? Did she not tell you about, just right now, just play with that idea. What is the most difficult question she asked you in this whole interview?
I mean, like dangerous, I think.
Yeah, that could get you in trouble to talk about or to admit.
Just that requests are being modified to say
Okay.
it's not even.
Then you've got to know that's the toughest question you're asking. Maybe that's got to be a surprise to you, and you now have to make a decision live, on set, on camera, if you're going to talk about that, and I need to see a little bit more of that challenge. Okay, this is less prepared, less flat. I mean, I like the naturalism of it, but I need to see you guys, you ladies, cut through. Your personal feelings cut through a little bit more. Okay? All right, let's do this again. Take some risks, ladies. Be willing to throw out maybe a little bit of what's prepared.
Sound? Camera A? Camera B?
Speeding.
Camera C?
Yeah, camera C speed.
C9? Take 2. Mark.
Colonel Woods, thanks for joining me today.
Absolutely.
How are you doing?
Fine. Just ready to get this story told.
I'm sure. Well, let's dive right in then. You mentioned you arrived in Libya in February 2011 to train an elite security force. How would you describe the situation on the ground?
It was chaotic. There was constant battles with the militia and a lot of criminal activity.
You met with Ambassador Stevens daily. Was he concerned about security?
Good, hold it. So let me ask you a question. Is the conceit here that she's arriving on set?
So we did it at like a coffee shop. Like this is the first time she's
So that there could,
telling
it
the
could be
story.
So
less.
this is not a televised
No.
film?
No.
Okay. Let's flip it.
Okay.
You're on set already.
Okay.
I mean, she's arriving on set, so leave the cup there. Maybe that's a courtesy water or something like that. It'd be great if Alec, you're pretending to be her producer, and welcome her to set. Hey, welcome to set. The whole thing. All right, guys, we're gonna be ready to go here in 5, 4. So, all right, let's just improvise a little bit. Okay. So let's have somebody walking her on set. Bree, you're one of the producers. Hey, you're gonna be sitting right here. We're just gonna go with a little bit of improv. And we'll be ready to roll here in about 30 seconds, ladies. That's your line. You ready?
I'm saying that?
Yep.
Can you say it again?
Just make something up. You're a producer. You're escorting her from her trailer to the set. And we're about 30 seconds away from live. Alec, that's your line. Ladies, we're about 30 seconds away from live. Okay, we're just going to improvise and we're going to throw this open a little bit. You're going to welcome her to set. Be willing to kind of improvise just a little bit of a banter. Somebody even being maybe here on set and you're putting her in your monitor in. That's your job. You're just going to pretend to be putting something in her ear. Yep. Everybody knows how I work. We're going to make stuff up today. That's what we're doing. All right, you ready? Cool. Somebody be up in her face. Somebody get up in her face.
Okay,
Her
check my
producer, you're
microphone.
finishing her makeup. All right, Ed, let's roll with this. Action.
So we're going with questions.
Escort her on. Stay with your head.
Colonel Woods, thanks for joining me today.
Absolutely.
Ladies, we got 5 seconds to on air.
How are you doing today?
Fine.
5,
Ready to tell the story?
4,
Let's dive right
3.
in. You mentioned you arrived in Libya in February 2011 to train an elite security force. How would you describe the situation on the ground?
It was chaotic. Constant clashes with militia and a lot of criminal activity.
You met with Ambassador Stevens daily. Was he concerned about security?
He was constantly concerned about threats, and not just to himself, to the entire staff.
Was there a security drawdown during the period of time you were in Libya?
It happened shortly after I arrived. There was pressure to reduce the number of security people.
Pressure from where?
Higher ups. State Department.
During the 6 months leading up to the attack on Ambassador Stevens, Woods says the security situation in Libya deteriorated. There were 13 threats and attacks in Tripoli and Benghazi. Woods says Stevens and his staff made the request for tightened security in emails and diplomatic cables, but one by one, they lost 3 State Department security teams, their only airplane, and eventually Woods' squad too. Did Ambassador Stevens fight losing another team?
Yes, of course.
Was there a disconnect with what was going on in Libya and with the State Department?
There was certainly no disconnect in our communications to them. They had information about what was happening on the ground. We sent it up through the State Department cables. I sent it up through the DoD side. They knew what was happening in Libya.
How did you receive the word that your team had to leave?
We knew it was coming through the communications that was being sent. We knew that requests were being modified to say, don't even ask for DoD support.
So, State Department was telling the folks in Libya, don't even ask for help.
Correct.
Woods says in her opinion, some of the security team would have been in Benghazi on September 11th to help the State Department security team if they had been allowed to remain in Libya. Do you ever wonder that if their security threats and requests had been granted, their deaths could have been prevented?
Yes, I think about that. I spend a lot of time thinking about that.
Give it up for Deborah, all right?
was amazing once I got through my technical difficulties. So yeah, thank you. I appreciated both versions, and I liked how you made the changes in the end. So
yeah. Mainly just to give,
Beautiful.
mainly just to give the actors, obviously it's a very interesting thing. I don't know if everybody understood the conceit of the scene. It's that it's actually the interview would have been part of like a B-roll pack or a pre-recorded interview potentially, and then you have your journalists direct addresses to the camera. So this scene presented some unique, unusual things that you don't typically get to kind of play. Actresses.
I'm right here.
Oh, there you are. You said that. You're so fast. How was that for you? Thoughts, observations.
It was fun to play with changing it.
Yeah.
I think getting more in touch with the emotions and then the reason for asking, like you said, like note why you're asking these questions, why you're digging. So in the moment, there's a lot going on. So the first time in front of all these cameras, it's like, okay, all these cameras, but how can I just dial in on listening? So it was fun to play with that.
That's good. Ryan, how was it for you?
I think it was a real challenge to play a scene like this, where...
Why so? What was, I know we've had a sidebar about it, but maybe share, why did this scene, the style of this scene, present some maybe unique challenges as an actor?
I think because the tension is not between the two characters in the scene. The tension is with the government. The tension is with the situation that happened. So the villain, if you will, is not in the scene at all. And so it was like, how can we create some sort of tension? It has to be within our personal stories, like what happened on our own, the cost that she is having to pay for telling this story, the cost that I'll have to pay for telling this story. That was where the tension lied. So that was hard to have that be the motivating factor without overacting anything or being,
Sure.
So I think it was great to get to do something like that because it was much harder to find.
It is, because it's a subtle form of theater in a way, right? It's a subtle form of drama in that it feels almost documentary-like, but something that I challenge the ladies with is to still find the stakes and the personal opinions within them, even though they maybe feel very implicit. Because I think when we first approached it, we thought, oh, this is very kind of documentary, it's very informational. So the challenge for you ladies is to say, what's the most dangerous question that she asks you? Was all of this planned? Is she surprising you at any point? What's the most dangerous thing for you to answer in this? It's a different form of drama, but nonetheless, you still have to find it. So the most dangerous assumption, not saying that you ladies ended here, but the most dangerous assumption that you can make about any scene is, it just is.
Yeah.
We can never conclude that it just is what we think it might be. We always, even if, and I'm not saying this is the case with Deborah's scene, but let's say that you get to material and you have to find something. What are my personal opinions? What am I reacting and responding to? Where are the stakes in the scene? Even if it's this unique, subtle form of almost kind of documentary, journalistic type reality, there's still got to be something happening under the hood. So the question is, how do I find it and where is it, right? And I think you ladies did a good job of it. Cool. Let's give it up one more time for the good job, all right?
We're close.
We're close. Awesome, cool. Any other questions, thoughts, observations, revelations? Nothing. All like it's Friday and around.
I was looking at Deborah, is this? Can you hear me, Deb?
Deb, can you hear Trailer?
I can hear you. I can hear you, Trailer.
Good. Anyway, was this like a transcript? Did you adapt this at all? What do you have to do to make this work for your scene?
So say that again. I lost you for a second.
Was it a transcript or did you rework it?
I reworked it, but it was reworked from a transcript. There's actually the video out there, but it had to be shortened and made a little more interesting. And even at that, it still isn't, I love the changes David did and the actors.
Yeah, it's just finding the story underneath the
Keep going in now.
Yep. Well, sorry guys. Yeah, we're still working on it. How are you doing? We're ready?
I think we're good.
Good.
Yeah.
We're ready to go. All right, good stuff. Good question. All right, here we go, guys.
You could start off for.
Can you all see it? No. Good. Go ahead. Sound.
Speeding.
Camera A.
Camera A speeding.
Camera B.
Camera B speeding.
Camera C.
Camera 3 feeding.
Mark.
I'm sorry. I was waiting for the.
Action. Resettle. Action.
My lady, does my father know I'd gone? Where have you been? He wanted to speak to you, but you weren't here, and I didn't know what to do. I told him you were resting.
Oh,
I was so worried.
no reason. I was visiting friends.
You didn't. That woman, she encourages violence. She's beneath you, miss.
Beneath me. And aren't you beneath her? I can do it. Go sit down. In my chair. Madame Roland and her friend. Oh, wait, no. I messed that one. Can we go back?
Yeah, stop that. Just reset things.
Remember where you're coming from.
Yeah.
My lady, where have you been?
Does my father know I'd gone?
He wanted to speak to you, but you weren't here, and I didn't know what to do. I told him you were resting.
Okay.
I was so worried.
No reason. I was visiting friends.
You didn't. That woman, she encourages violence. She's beneath you, miss.
Beneath me. And aren't you beneath her? Danielle, disparity between one person and another is a figment of cruel imaginations. I can do it. Sit down in my chair. Madame Roland and her friends, they speak of humanity different than I've ever heard. They speak of fixing a broken world. It needs to be fixed.
I still do not trust her.
You trust me, don't you?
Okay, cool.
And I think traditionally, a woman's status might be a certain point in your honor, because I think you actually were almost like a young sister. So let me hear some of the dialogue just so I can hear some very specific. Go ahead and draw it out loud. She sees you.
That's same scene. If it was updated news, maybe. Real quick, you can clap from back here. Just try to get all the cameras in at once. And if there's an accuracy, if there is, because she will explain it, we can just look. Everybody point right here. And if everybody can see it, then you just say sound, camera A, camera B, camera C, and then call your scene, scene 2, alpha, take 2, mark.
Take your time. Find all those colors, okay? Find all those colors.
Here, better.
Better? That's what I thought. Okay. Is it good? Okay. Sound. Camera A.
Camera A speeding.
Camera B. Camera C. 10 alpha, take 2, mark.
My lady, where have you been? Does my father know I'd gone? He wanted to speak to you, but you weren't here, and I didn't know what to do. I told him you were resting. I was so worried. No reason. I was visiting friends. You didn't.
Good. Grab the shoulder.
My lady, where have you been? Does my father know I'd gone? He wanted to speak to you, but you weren't here, and I didn't know what to do. I told him you were resting. I was so worried. No reason. I was visiting friends. You didn't. That woman, she encourages violence. She's beneath you, miss. Beneath me? Aren't you beneath her? Danielle, disparity between one person and another is a figment of cruel imaginations.
That moment. This is important to you. You need to turn to her. You need to grab her by both hands and say, hey, that thought, that's what we're getting rid of. There is no separation between you and I. Okay? Yeah, makes sense? Take it just before that. Just take that line again. Get her ready. Remember, you've got to get her ready for the party. She's running late. She was supposed to be here.
Okay. Beneath me? And aren't you beneath her?
That's where you need, when she says that, roll it back a few lines. When she says that,
You did.
take that beat, turn to her, grab her by both hands. You need to lovingly, caringly set her straight on this.
Beneath me?
No, she's
I'll go.
Take your time.
Before it.
Look in the mirror. Take a beat, ladies, and just start
Yeah.
fixing her hair.
Yeah.
Slow things down a little bit. Get her ready for the party.
You didn't. That woman, she encourages violence.
Get busy, get busy.
She's beneath you, miss. Beneath me? And aren't you beneath her?
No, you're not annoyed. You're not annoyed.
Beneath me?
Okay, go back earlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even before then?
Start fixing as soon as she sits down. Let's go from her sitting down. And you have a job that you need to get her hair ready for the party.
Yeah.
I need you to come in a little bit. I know I told you to stillness thing, okay? But you need to come in. You're running late for the party. Grab the thing, and you ladies need to get to work, okay?
Yeah.
You need to get her ready. You're juggling two things at once. You have to do her job, and she's got this philosophical thing that she's processing.
Yeah.
Okay? It's the collision of both things at the same time.
Okay.
Okay? But when she says that lady is beneath you, it stops the scene.
Okay.
Stops the scene. This is the whole core thing of the film. This idea, this thinking that we're beneath and above one another. You've got to stop her, and you need to make that case. Okay? Here we go. From the top again.
My lady, where have you been? Does my father know I'd gone? He wanted to speak to you, and you weren't here, and I didn't know what to do. I told him you were resting. I was so worried. No reason. I was visiting friends. You didn't. That woman, she encourages violence. She's beneath you, miss. Beneath me?
No. Do not say that line. You've got to stop her, turn, grab her hands.
And then say.
And then you say, yeah. No, we're going to take it back again. Come in a little bit even more out of breath. And you get to work. You guys know the drill. You've got to get her ready for the party.
Okay.
Okay?
Cool.
And let her tend to you. You don't do anything with your hair. You're the lady.
Okay.
She's the one doing your hair.
Okay.
All right. And
My lady, where have Does my father know I'd gone?
He wanted to speak to you, but you weren't here, and I didn't know what to do. I told him you were resting. I was so worried.
No reason. I was visiting friends.
You didn't. That woman, she encouraged violence.
You're going too fast. You're going too fast. You're going too fast. Let me see the dream of everything that you've just experienced. Okay, give me the lines. My lady.
Yeah, my lady, where have you been?
Does my father know I'd gone?
He wanted to speak to you. You weren't here. I didn't know what to do. I told him you were resting. I was so worried.
No reason. I was visiting friends.
Breathe. I need to see the residue of the party. You then understand where she's been. You have to figure it out. Take the time to figure it out.
Okay. Yeah.
You're also taking a step out. She's your mistress. Right? She's the lady of the house. You're about to cross a line. You guys have to understand the chess of the scene. Okay? You understand? When we cross lines with one another, when we have to reset boundaries, when we step over boundaries, you step over a boundary because you actually care enough to take the time to teach her something about what's shifting in culture. There's more happening. So slow things down. Slow things down. Let's do it from the top. One more time. But I love the urgency. Get a little bit of the energy. You too.
Okay.
You're wiping. You're getting things ready. You guys know the drill. It's like pit stop. As soon as she comes in, you take the thing. You hang the thing. You lay things out. You get to combing her hair. You know exactly how you're going to do her hair. Okay? All right.
My lady, where have you been?
Does my father know I'd gone?
He wanted to speak to you, but you weren't here, and I didn't know what to do. I told him you were resting. I was so worried.
No reason. I was visiting friends.
You didn't. That woman, she encourages violence. She's beneath you, miss.
Stop and turn.
Beneath me? And aren't you beneath her? Danielle, disparity between one person and another, it's a figment of cruel imaginations.
I still do not trust her.
Madame Roland and her friends, they speak of humanity differently than I've ever heard. They want to fix a broken world. It needs to be fixed.
I still do not trust her.
You trust me, don't you?
Good stuff. Complicated scene, ladies. Short, complicated. Good stuff. You have director. Let's give it up for Kelsey! The light French period revolutionary drama, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Nothing like it to kick off Friday. Good. Ladies, I know I threw a lot at you, so thank you for being brave. Thank you for rolling with me. Observation.
It wasn't as scary as I thought.
It wasn't as scary as you thought? Yeah. Cool. What did you think was going to happen?
Yeah, and I think the first time, I think it was when we were talking back there, I was, like, when we were just going through the words, I was like, I really felt like I got into the story, and I think that was actually the first time where I really felt like I was the character for a little while, which was wonderful.
It helps. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. How about you?
I felt really connected with the notes that you were giving me, and when you were saying like the residue of the party, and then like the care for her, that really was like I was able to really like slip into the character, just being like, okay, I was also doing a lot of what's it called, you would say things, and it would make me think of another memory that I used. Substituting. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I did a lot of substituting when you were giving me notes, and I was like, oh, okay.
You're like,
I know how that
do
feels.
this.
Yeah.
I know this feels. So good job. It was a complicated thing. Blaine, how about you? How was it?
That was a little bit trickier than the other one that I did.
Yeah.
It felt like there was like 10 different points we needed to hit, and I was like, oh man, this is my first time directing. They're taking the investment so well, and then having to find it together. There's like a million things to notice of, so definitely a tricky one for me.
Yeah, it was a complex scene. Kelsey's a careful writer, and it's a layered piece, and it's a period piece, and there's things like status and dynamics and culture and posture and a million things to think about. And so I think one thing, what was it? Let's give it up. Any thoughts, observations?
It was a bit different than I even expected, and it's good because the feedback that I'm getting is my characters might not be super likable. You made them likable. Or that in a different way. I really appreciate it.
That's cool. That's good. That's awesome. All right, let's give it up one more time for the